2 days ago, TW commented on my video that I shot of the Christmas tree, and he was asking about how to forge a pecan in the shell. Well, I'd never forged a pecan in the shell, so I thought, well, that's kind of a challenge. So I did a little research, and then I started playing with it. This is what I came up with. This is my pecan in the shell. The inner piece, the actual pecan, is copper. The outer is mild steel. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make a pecan in the shell. Now what we're going to start with, we're going to start with a piece of 1-inch inner diameter pipe. Is what we're going to start with for the outer shell. And in the inner shell, we're going to use a piece of 3/4, I think it's K copper, it's the thick copper, I think it's K copper. And that's what we're going to make it out of. Now, word of safety here, anytime you forge pipe, if you go to quench it, you aim it away from you. Okay? That way it doesn't shoot steam back up at you. You can put steel wool in here. I've heard of people putting paper in there. So just be careful that the heat doesn't come back up through here, in the steam when you quench it. We don't want people getting burnt. So that's just a quick note on safety. So we're going to start with the inch pipe, metal pipe. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's get started. The first thing we want to look at is we want to look at the tooling we're going to use. This is a what we call a spring swedge. It's my pipe swedge that I've made for swedging down pipe, and we're going to use this for both the copper and the steel this morning. Let's get a close-up of that. And all that is it's 2 pieces with holes drilled in the 2 pieces, and then radiused and relieved on the edges. And it starts out, I believe it started out at I think that's a 1/2 inch, and then it goes down to 3/8, and then it goes down to 1/4. So that's my spring swedge that I use for working with pipe. So we're going to start our initial swedge, and you start real soft. And as you go harder. The next one. Then you move to the next one. Okay. So there's our first swedge, following that down, okay? Swedging that down. So now we're going to take this, we're going to put it in the swedge, and we're going to take a measurement, and we're going to get it right at 3 inches is what we're going to do. from from end to center. That's what we're looking for, about 3 inches. And there we are. That basically makes the body of our pecan shell. So we're going to lay this over to the side. We're going to let it cool. So let's just have a word about copper before we and how we work copper before we get started swedging the copper down. Copper is basically just the opposite of steel. You heat it up and you quench it to soften it. And then as you hammer it, it work hardens. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to heat this up to just a dull red, medium red heat. We're not going to get it real hot, and we're going to quench it. Like I said, when we quench that, we're going to point it away from us when we quench it. That way we don't get burnt by steam. That's what we're going to do first. And then we're going to work it cold in the power hammer. So here's our annealed copper. We're going to put it in the swedge just like we did before. And especially with the copper, you have to start off real gentle. So here we go. Move down to the next one. Okay, we're going to stop right there, and we're going to heat it up again, and we're going to anneal it again. That way we don't take a chance of ripping it. Okay, we've got it annealed again. We're going to pick up where we left off and there it is, if you can see it. We didn't rip it or tear it anywhere. That's a good thing. So now let's talk about length. So when we swedged this down, we went 3 inches from the top here to the middle of where the swedge was. And that left us with about 2.5 inches in pecan shell length. About 2.5 inches. So that's a good length. Now on the copper, you have to remember the only thing you're going to see on this copper is you're going to see the very top of it. The very top of it. you're not going to see the bottom end of that copper. So what we're going to do is we're going to swedge that and give us enough for 2 of them. So we're going to swedge that. Since that's 2.5, we're going to swedge this at about 4, maybe 4 1/4, and then we're going to cut it in half. That should give us plenty of length. And then I'll show you how we'll adjust it there when we put the pecan together. Okay. So we want about 4 inches. So we're going to come down here. We're already annealed down there. So we're going to come down here. We're going to get our 4 inches right there. We want to be about right there. That'll get us in the ballpark. Let's stop there and let's anneal that. I don't think we got it. There's a change of color there. I think we're going to go ahead and re-anneal that before we ruin that. So we've got it annealed. We're going to come back to the first one. Okay, now we're going to go to the middle. Now we're going to go ahead, we're going to heat this back up and anneal it one more time. I'd rather be safe than sorry. I don't want it to crack. So we're going to come to the last station now. So there we are. Let's see what our finished length is. Our finished length is right at 3 3/4. So that'll give us plenty. So now we're going to move over to the bandsaw. And we're going to cut the pieces loose, and then we're going to take the steel pecan shell, and we're going to cut it about 3/4 down the length of the body, and then we're going to turn it 90 degrees, and we're going to cut it the same depth at 90 degrees to get our 4 sections of our pecan shell. So we're going to move to the bandsaw. So let's start with the copper. Our light's not the best over here, but we'll get by. Now what we want to do is we want to cut that fairly close to the body over here and fairly close to the body over here. But we don't want to get too close. But about where that starts to make that change from the radius to straight there, if you can see it. Do the small one first. Now if you look, we've got a small hole there, but that's not a problem. We'll show you in a little bit what we're going to do with that little hole. This one's even smaller, but we'll show you how to cure that. Now we're going to take that and we're going to cut that in half. And we're not even going to measure, we're just going to kind of guess. It's not that big a deal. There we are. The 2 copper pieces. Now what we want to do here, just like the other, we're going to come up here, we're going to cut this off up here, and we're going to leave ourselves a stem. Okay, we want to leave ourselves a stem, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to cut this once again where it starts to make that radius, change from a radius to straight. So we're going to start down here with leaving ourselves a stem. And the other thing that does is now you've got the start of another pecan shell on the end of the pipe. Now we're going to take this and we're going to cut it about 3/4 of the way down. I don't measure, I'm just going to guess about 3/4 of the way down. And then we're going to turn it 90 degrees and we're going to cut it again. So the idea is to come up with 4 fairly even sections when you're done. Okay. So the first thing we want to do with our pecan shell now is we want to take a small screwdriver and we just want to open it up here just a little bit, not a whole lot, just enough so that when we heat it up we can get a chisel in there to start opening it up. Okay, just a little bit of a gap. Now we're going to take it, we're going to heat it up. Like I said, we're going to take a chisel, we're going to drive it down, and we're going to open those up. We're going to bring this up here, we're going to put it right there, put our chisel in the middle, and we're going to open it up, just like that. Okay. Now we're going to take it, we're going to come this way, again. I'm going to drive down and open it up. Now we're going to pry those apart. We want to get them far enough apart that we can get our pecan in there, our copper pecan, and we want to be able to radius the edges. So what we're going to do now is we're going to let that cool, and then we're going to put it on the belt sander and we're going to radius these edges. We don't want those sharp edges, we want them to have a little radius to them. So there it is. All we did was we just relieved the edges, got the sharp points off the edges, rounded them up. Now we're going to take that, while we've got it right here, we're going to put it in a vise, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to wire brush it and clean it up a little bit. So here's our cleaned up shell. So the next thing we have to do, we have to take our pecan. Remember the little hole here in the end? We got to take care of the hole in the end, and then we've got to get it the proper length to fit inside the shell. So let's take care of the little hole in the end first. So we're going to lightly peen that with a ball peen to close that hole up. There it is. So now if you look at that, when you stick that in there, that's down about, oh, I don't know, that's probably down a good inch, and at least an inch down in there. So we want to raise that up to where it's not quite flush with the top, but we need to raise it up probably a good 3/4 of an inch. Like I said, you're not going to see that bottom end anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut us a piece of just scrap stock about 3/4 longer than this is, and we're going to put it in there, we're going to set that down on there, and then we're going to close that around it. So there's our piece of scrap stock. I'm just going to set that in there. I'm going to set that in there. I'm going to put that in there. And that gets us real close to where we want to be. You can see that, okay? Gets us real close. Now the other thing is right now that's not real shiny. So before we put that in there, we want to shine that up with a wire brush, and then we want to clear coat it before we put it in there, because once we get it in there we can't do anything with it. So we want to shine it, we want a shiny piece, we want a shiny copper piece. That's what we want. So here's our copper pecan. We've wire brushed it, we've got it good and shiny, and we put a coat of clear coat on it. Now we're going to take that, we're going to put a little piece in there, and we're going to slip it into the pecan shell just like that. Now we're going to take it over to the anvil and we're going to close it up, okay? We don't do it all at one time. We do it a little bit at a time. Now once you get that fairly close, you can take a screwdriver. So I keep one of these handy. It's just made from a piece of 5/16 rod, I think. Might be 3/8. With just kind of like a screwdriver end on it. It's got the loop handle so you can some leverage, and you can go in there and you can even them up. Now we're going to wire brush that one more time, then we're going to call it done. So here's our finished pecan in the shell. We've got it wire brushed, we've got it cleaned up, we've got a clear coat on the outside of it. There's our stem. There's our pecan on the inside. So I hope you found today's video useful. Plan is sometime in the future we'll get a video of making the leaves. I have several videos on how to make branches and things, so we probably won't do one on branches. Well, we'll do some leaves, and then we'll do a video putting the pecan in the shell, the leaves, and a branch all together. But this is the first video, and this is on how to make the pecan. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you got something out of it. I appreciate you watching, I really do. If you liked it, I'd appreciate it if you would like it and share it with your friends. That helps me out and makes it so I can continue doing these. So once again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Stay safe. Bye.